What's up, everybody, and welcome into the Liquid Trucking Podcast, episode 82. I'm your host, Marcus. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Very excited about this episode. We got another driver-suggested topic today, and it's going to be a fun one. I got three drivers joining me around the corner to talk about their celebrity moment. And this one was brought to me by one of the drivers that's going to join us today, Quincy Rich. Just a great topic here, and I'll tell you why it's so near and dear to my heart. First of all, I'm one of those guys that's very curious about how celebrities act in public, and not for any other reason other than I had an experience back when I was on the radio here in Eugene, and I will tell you, there's no celebrities in radio, okay? I used to joke all the time. People would say, oh, yeah, Mr. Radio Celebrity, like friends, trying to needle me a little bit. And I'd always tell them, celebrity is the second worst C word that you can call me, okay? Because, listen, we were popular in our state. We were popular around the region. We weren't celebrities. We were a bunch of friends on the radio trying to have a good time. But one time my family had driven 7+ hours to come and see me for the weekend or, spend a few days down in Eugene. We had some sort of event that they were coming to, or maybe I was going to play some golf with my dad. I don't remember exactly what the family came down for, but it's a long drive, okay? It's not something that you take lightly. That goes all the way across the state. For you drivers out there, to get to where I grew up and where my parents and family still live, it's I-5 North all the way from Eugene to Portland, and then Interstate 84 East all the way to La Grande, and then Highway 82 all the way to a little town called Enterprise up in the mountains. It's a 7.5 hour drive if you've got your foot on the floor. So I was trying to just enjoy the time with my family. It had been a long week. We'd had a lot of stuff going on the show that week, and we sat down for dinner at, insert downtown restaurant here on a Friday night. Kind of popping, but not really that busy. We got in there kind of early. And this dude, bless his heart, I know what he wanted to do, and that was come up and talk about how much he liked the radio show. And we sat down and got our drinks in front of us, and right as the food came, he noticed me, and he came over and stood at the end of the table. And we were all, like, I was as friendly as I could possibly be, man. I was so nice. I was trying hard not to say something like, dude, our food's getting cold, can you leave? And I never did say anything like that. I was nice to the guy until he finally left on his own volition. But it was a time that kind of shined a light on something for me. We see a lot of celebrities in social media acting up in public, right? Sometimes you get the acting up like it's Kanye West and you're just doing it for the clicks, and we understand that. Other times you catch somebody out, like just recently there was a video of Tom Hanks getting in somebody's shit at like a red carpet thing. So a photographer either grabbed his arm or grabbed his wife's arm and tried to turn them so he could get a picture. And the only video that you see is Tom Hanks getting in this guy's stuff. But really, you shouldn't be grabbing people's wives, okay? The cameras tend to come out a lot of times and try to catch celebrities in bad moments. And I just felt like, look, I can understand now, after this has happened to me just one time as not a celebrity, I can understand how sometimes if this was happening every single time you go out in public, maybe you'd get a little bit pissed off after a while. If somebody was rude to you, somebody just demands some of your time and they're not kind about it, they're not polite, I totally understand why you might blow a gasket as a celebrity or a famous person. So what Quincy Rich brought to me after, this is kind of where my mind went after he said this, was like, hey, I want to hear about drivers' celebrity moments. When did you run into a celebrity? When did you meet somebody that's like this big A-lister, or somebody you never thought you'd meet, or somebody that you idolized? Or, and I added this caveat to it when I texted the drivers last week, I said, hey, I'll take your celebrity moment where you met someone. I'll also take your 15 minutes of fame. When did it happen to you? When did something, you ended up on the news or something like that? Hopefully you ended up on the news and it's not one of those straight on shots and then one of those profile shots and you're holding a 10-digit number. But I'll take any of them. And by the way, just because we only got the 3 drivers today, if you've got a celebrity moment, feel free to text it to me. You can reply to the text that I send. It'll come right to me. Or you can hit us up in the email inbox, podcast@liquidtrucking.com. It's going to be a fun episode here. And I can't wait to get these guys on. So real quick, let's hit the homework. Version 2 of the website is live, and I'm so excited about it. That's worth party horns and a big round of applause for my guy Tyler, who is our web designer on the team. Tyler built the first version of the Liquid Trucking Podcast website, and he's outdone himself on version 2. Go check it out right now, podcast.liquidtrucking.com. It's got a fresh new look up there. All the episodes are going to be up there, a bunch of information, and as always, we're always working to get some interactive stuff up there as well. I'll tell you what, if you send me some celebrity moments that you have via email or text message, we'll put a gallery of just your guys' stories up there. That way you don't have to come on the podcast, but you can still share a moment where you met a really cool celebrity, or maybe you met somebody that was kind of an asshat. You know, it happens. Like, there's actually one celebrity that we're going to talk about with these drivers that one of the drivers met, and I know a couple of stories from a person that I know, like, personally, that dealt with this celebrity all the time, and he had some interesting things to say about why people think this guy's such an asshat. And it really kind of goes back to what I was saying there. And I hate to use my experience to frame this because, as I said, not a goddamn celebrity, not even close. Don't walk around like it. Try to be as humble and quiet as possible as much as I could, especially back in those days, because hey, it's not a very big town I live in here. I guess you could call it a city. It's 180,000. But you go around acting like an ass, and yeah, that word's going to spread pretty quick. And all of a sudden, maybe your radio show isn't so popular, and maybe you don't have a job. So I don't like using myself as a frame of reference here, but I wanted to set this conversation up because I'm wondering about these stories. Are these celebrities that these people met, these drivers met, going to be nice to them in these stories, or are they going to be the typical celebrity asshat? I can't wait for it. Head on over to the website, podcast.liquidtrucking.com, and send me an email. There's a link there, or if you just want to send it from your phone, podcast@liquidtrucking.com. I want to hear about your celebrity moment. I really would like to hear about your 15 minutes of fame. Maybe you worked a career before where you did something that kind of made you a little bit famous. I talked to a driver, such a driver from Liquid, who didn't want to come on the podcast this week, but he told me, I mean, the list of names that he listed that he met during his last job before he started trucking is a murderer's row of some of the biggest stars of, like, certain niches, if you will. It was crazy. So while I didn't get him on the podcast today, which is totally understandable, I get it, it's not for everyone, he did give me the permission to kind of lay out some of the people that he's met. So we'll talk about that coming up here around the corner as well. It's time for us to welcome in these 3 Liquid drivers and talk to them about their celebrity moment.
Welcome to the gold standard of podcasts for the gold standard of drivers. This is the Liquid Trucking Podcast with your host, Marcus Bridges.
All right, it's time to get these drivers in here. Right now, they're on the line with me hanging out, and I've got 2 new ones today that I can't wait to welcome to the show for their first appearance. It's going to be a fun one. But first, I want to welcome the gentleman who brought me this idea that we'll be going home with some Drive for Gold points for the trouble, and that's my guy Quincy Rich, fellow Oregon Duck fan. How you doing, man? It's been a few episodes since we've talked. Everything good out there?
Oh, yeah. It's always good out here in God's country.
Where are you at today? Where's God's country?
I am just crossing out of Iowa back into God's country into Nebraska. So
okay, gotcha. Well, thanks for joining us. Thanks for the idea. We're going to let Quincy take care of a couple of things that he's got to take care of during the first few minutes of this interview, just so you guys know. So if you don't hear him for a few minutes, he's just out there doing his job like any good Liquid trucking driver would. So thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being here, Quincy. Always appreciate the time. New to the show today, very excited to welcome Mike McEwen. Mike, thank you for being here, man. It's your first time. We're very excited to have you here on the podcast.
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me. This is actually pretty awesome little feature that we have over here at Liquid Trucking, that's for sure.
Have you ever
Never
worked
seen
at
a company do this?
Oh, okay, that was going to be my question. Have you ever worked at a company before that had a podcast?
No, not a single one.
That's awesome, man. Well, I'm glad that that Liquid's your first foray into it, and we have a lot of fun on this podcast. There's no question about it, man. So welcome to the party. How long have you been with Liquid Trucking, Mike? Since it's your first time on, I want to find out a little bit about you.
I am brand new, man. I've been here for about 2 months.
Oh, okay.
I've been driving for 13 years, though. I pulled reefer and dry van, mostly reefer. I was an owner operator for about 8 of those years, but I figured I'd come over here and see what it was like pulling a tank.
Well, 2 months in, how do you feel?
I'm liking it. I really am. I'm getting a little more exercise than just sitting behind the wheel for sure, and every day's different.
That's good, man. And I'm sure some of the load in and drop off spots are a little bit unique compared to the dry van and reefer game, yeah?
Oh yeah, I mean, going to some of the farms, that's definitely sometimes a challenge getting underneath those bulk tanks that are like 10 feet wide. but other than that, I mean, I've taken a reefer into a field before and picked up, fresh fruit and vegetables right there in the field. So, I mean, I'm not really new to mud trucking,
That's cool. I never knew that they would have reefers come pick up fresh fruit and vegetables right out of the field like that. I had no idea.
Yep. Yes, sir. Right out of the field. So, yeah, I mean, there's been times that I had to get a little helping hand from a front end loader to get out. You know what I mean?
I do, man. I do know what you mean. In fact, just going back maybe a month or two, we had a whole episode about the ground getting soft around spring breakup time. I'm sure that those early spring months are the ones you really don't want to go driving out in the field. That April, kind of May time. Probably want to stay out of those farm fields.
Yeah, well, yeah. Unfortunately, though, I mean, there's times that, down there in Arkansas and some places in southern Oklahoma, even going to get watermelons out of the field, and it's, during the monsoon,
That's
so
crazy.
I mean, it's a torrential downpour and there's 8 inches of mud and you're looking at it going, yeah, I'm going to get stuck. And the customer's telling you, no, don't worry. We'll get you out. We'll push you out. No worries.
Yeah. Sorry, but every carrot you put on this thing is increasing the risk that I'm staying in this field.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, that's great, Mike. Well, thank you for being here today, man. I'm super excited every time we get new drivers on the podcast. And today I've got double the reason to be excited because we're also joined today by Bob Davis, and it's his first time on the podcast as well. Bob, welcome in, man. We're so happy to have you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the podcast. This is definitely an experience.
Hey, man, we appreciate you more than you appreciate us because without you guys, this thing doesn't go. So I always love it when we get a new guy in here. How about you, Bob? How long have you been with Liquid?
I just started with Liquid about 2 years ago, and coming up on my 3rd anniversary. It's definitely different. I've never ran tankers before, but seems like it's a lot of common sense and keeping yourself out of trouble. It's definitely different from what I did in the past.
Okay, and so what did you do in the past?
I used to run out of Great Falls, Montana up to Alaska and back, so I spent 90% of my life driving through Canada.
Oh.
And it just it was pretty fun playing with ice and snow out in the middle of nowhere. But I got pretty good at that.
I imagine, man, Montana up to Alaska, you're probably not running through very many metropolitan areas. That's mostly driving out in the Great Blue Yonder, yeah? Yeah,
we were running the Alaska Highway out of Edmonton, and the next cities you saw were Fairbanks or Alaska.
Wow. Wow. So how long did you do that for?
Oh, years. Did it for years. It's just probably about 10 years straight by myself, and then I followed my uncle around for another 10 years.
Wow. So you got a lot of experience.
Definitely an experience.
That. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
man.
I got to play a lot in Canada.
Did you ever run into any moose or grizzly bears up that way?
Mainly the bison. It's kind of funny. The bison, you'll come around the corner and the bison are just sitting in the highway and there's no way to move them. You wait until they move.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that some of these tourists at Yellowstone that have gotten flipped up into the air 25 feet recently are a really good case study on that. Maybe just wait for them to move. Don't get too close.
Yeah, I did have a moose one time. I was looking over to my right, and I saw a bunch of tourists running towards the ditch, and then all of a sudden this great big huge moose came flying out of the ditch, and that was a very big experience. I swear I got him, but all I saw was hair.
Oh, wow.
And he wasn't in the road, so he must have at least got up and ran away.
I mean, I feel like you'd have known it, man, for sure. If you got him, it's like if you hit a deer with a semi truck, maybe you don't notice if you got a Bambi Basher on the front. But if you hit a Jeep Grand Cherokee or a moose, you're gonna notice it, right?
Well, yeah, I know I hit him. I saw him spin. I saw him go into the ditch. I pulled over. When I went back, there was nothing. Just hair everywhere.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Those are big animals. You know, a 2,000-pound moose. He got up and he walked away. He might have died later, but he definitely had enough strength to get up and walk away.
They are a monster animal.
If I had to bet on a moose or a Grand Cherokee, my money's on the moose.
Yeah,
oh, I guarantee you.
Absolutely. I saw a video once of there's a person that's they're kind of a ways behind it, maybe like a half mile behind it, and there's a moose walking down the median of like a freeway. And he's got a really wide angle, and then he zooms in on the moose. And the only reason I use that frame of reference with the Jeep Grand Cherokee is because a Jeep Grand Cherokee slowly drives by the moose, and that thing looks like a mini Prius, like a Mini Cooper sitting next to that moose. It's unbelievable how big those things are. And you guys, I don't know if anybody listens knows this. You guys probably know it, but those things can't see worth a shit. They are blind as get out. And so when they get spooked, they just kind of run straight at whatever they think is threatening them. They will run your ass over like a Jeep Grand Cherokee will as well in a Walmart parking lot.
I'll tell you what, I saw a moose hop over an 8-foot chain link fence too. You would think those things can't jump.
No, they can jump.
It's amazing how strong they are.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's crazy. I've always wanted. See, I'm an outdoorsman myself. I love hunting elk. It's one of my favorite things to do outside. I would love to get on a moose hunt once, but I just don't know that I'm good enough. I'm first of all, I'm kind of terrified of them. I've never had an elk do anything. If an elk sees me in the bush, they turn on their heel and run the other way. I just can't guarantee that a moose is going to do that. I might just be like a bug on his windshield. You know what I'm saying?
This is the wrong episode, but being up in Alaska for a bunch of years, I got some good moose stories. That'll have to be a different podcast.
Okay, all right.
I have my own Alaska moose story too, so I used to live up there too.
Perfect. I'm writing it down.
There you go.
I'm writing it down right now. Just moose episode.
There you go.
Alaska moose episode.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a big game episode too, where we can hear, because I know that this is something that happens out on the road, right? It's a virtue of, or it's just a fact of life with your guys' job. There's going to be animal strikes, right? Wildlife, maybe livestock. I'm sure there's plenty of stories out there to tell, and I would love to hear the moose stories when we get you guys back on for your second go at the Liquid Trucking Podcast, okay?
Sounds good for me.
Awesome. Well, fellas, we brought you in here today to talk about your celebrity moment. And the message was pretty open-ended, right? I wanted to know if you had met a celebrity at some point in time, or maybe you got your 15 minutes of fame at some point in time. And that's what we're here to talk about today. Now, Mike, first and foremost, I got to jump into this because you sent me a text yesterday after we had, or maybe this was back on Tuesday after we'd organized this whole thing. And you said, hey, I noticed your last name is Bridges. Are you related to Jeff Bridges? And I have to say, unfortunately, no. As big of a fan as I am of The Big Lebowski and many of Jeff Bridges' other works, but The Big Lebowski sits at the pinnacle for me. I'm not related to the guy. I thought maybe I was. I looked into it. It's a no-go for me, but something interesting for you there in that same vein, right, Mike?
Well, yeah, he's a fifth cousin. I mean, honestly, I've never met the guy, and again, I'm a fan, so you know. But yeah, I just thought, you know, with the last name, I was just curious because he is a cousin of mine.
That's crazy. So that means that you guys share a set of what, great grandparents? Is that kind of the lineup?
Yeah, I'd have to check with one, the cousin that did our genealogy. I'd have to check with him and find out, you know, exactly what what that was, or what that looked like. I'm also related to Lucille Ball too. So
wow, you got a lot of famous relatives here.
Yeah, I got a pretty sordid background when it comes to my family history. There's some nefarious characters in there as well. So
okay,
that's for another podcast.
Yeah, we'll find out that you're related to Jimmy Hoffa, and we'll talk about that one for hours, man. I can't wait.
No, not that nefarious.
Okay, all right, gotcha. So here's a question for you. Just go ahead and roll with it, man. Your celebrity moment it happened back at a Comic-Con in 2019. So talk me through it.
Yeah, well, I actually made plans to go to the Comic-Con and spend the weekend there to take a very, very old friend of mine, Virginia Hay, out to dinner. Virginia Hay was Zoltar Zahn in Farscape.
Okay.
She was a Bond girl in one of the James Bond films. You know, she also was the warrior woman in Mad Max. You know, the one that had that harpoon gun up there on the turret.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, that was her. She was actually in the very first video on MTV.
Oh, the very first
Video
music
Killed
video.
the Radio.
Yeah, Video Killed the Radio star.
She was in that video. So anyway, I met her years ago, back in like 1992, I think it was, 92 or 93. And I went to go see her, take her out to dinner. The Comic-Con was over in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And I drove almost 10 hours to go visit her, you know, which was okay. It was worth it, you know.
Well, yeah, I'm sitting here looking at. I don't want to interrupt you too long here, but I'm sitting here looking at pictures right now, and 10 hours is a short trip to go hang out with this woman. She is absolutely gorgeous. Were you married at the time? Forgive me for getting into your personal business, but my wife would have snatched me bald headed if I'd have drove 10 hours to meet this woman.
You know what? I took my wife with me.
Good thinking, bro. Great thinking. I'm giving you a round of applause for that. That is thinking on your feet.
and she was my wife was totally cool with it because, you know, obviously, you know, and I had been married to my wife, my current wife, been married to her for already, almost 10 years when we went and saw her. So she was comfortable with going to visit somebody I used to know.
Okay.
Because she was a celebrity, you know.
Sure.
So anyway, we went out to dinner. We did our thing. We spent some time together and stuff. And we were at the Comic-Con the next day, and this guy rides up on a motorcycle dressed like Jack Sparrow.
Oh, Pirates of the Caribbean.
From Pirates of the Caribbean. And I'm looking at the guy, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, that cosplay is too good. And it turns out it was too good. That was Johnny Depp coming to visit the Comic-Con and hang out with folks.
No way.
And And he was cosplaying Jack Sparrow, and I guess he's done it more than once. You know, it's just something he liked to do, hang out with his fans, right? So we were in the bar, we were having a drink, and he walked in and sat down at the bar. And so I walked over and I introduced myself. I didn't give up that I knew he was Johnny Depp. I just kind of nodded at him like, "Hi, how you doing?" You know, and let me buy you a beer. And we sat there and just talked about Comic-Cons in general, and you know, had a beer, and it was pretty cool because he was, you know, I was just talking to him like he was just a regular guy,
just down to earth, just like anybody that you'd share a beer with at a hole in the wall. Exactly.
I mean, you know, I've had my experience with different celebrities and knowing celebrities and stuff, and I just, they like being treated like a regular person. They don't. They're not real happy when you're going crazy over them. You know what I mean?
Oh, I 100% know what you mean, man. And so I got to ask, did you ever let on that you knew that you were sitting there with John Depp, or did you just kind of play it cool the whole time and just maybe John Depp still thinks that you thought that he was just another cosplayer?
No, he knew that I knew because my wife was the one whose jaw was on the ground.
Yeah, I kind of figured. I was wondering where she was at during this whole experience.
Yeah. She didn't say a word. She was starstruck, you know.
I'm surprised she didn't tell you to go find Virginia and take her back out to dinner. She was going to spend some time with John Depp.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Hey,
what a
well,
cool story.
I was going to say, that would have been my celebrity past. That's okay.
Oh, man, that is
I would have
cool.
given her that one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, who can? It's John Depp. Do you even have a choice?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, it's you're not the one making decisions in this scenario. It's her and Mr. Depp himself, man. How cool, because the cool part about that, I think, is that we're not just talking about an A-list celebrity, especially after the release of all of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. We're talking about one of the A-list celebrities. Like, you're on par with your George Clooney's and your Brad Pitts with Johnny Depp.
Right.
That's really cool, man. That's really cool.
For sure. And I can back up that I took Virginia Hay out to dinner because I have pictures.
Oh, hey, I believe you, man. I believe you. You know enough about her background that you either took her out to dinner or you need to take your tent off of her front lawn, one of the two. So I'm pretty sure that you took her out to dinner, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
Sure.
Mike, thank you for sharing that, man. I love it. And, if we get some more time here towards the end of the episode, we'll come back and see, because you said you've met plenty of them. It sounds like you've got a lot of experience with it. I really appreciate you bringing that story. Bob, I want to turn it to you now, man, because you met a person that was the reason that I had just a favorite athlete as a kid. Talk to me about your celebrity moment so you and I can reminisce about the good old days in the red and gold.
Well, growing up a 49er fan, Joe Montana was the man.
Yeah.
And I just loved him. He was my favorite player. Never met him. We lived in the same town. And just with his fame and popularity, he was isolated. And one day, it's late night, it's about 2 a.m, and I pull into the local gas station. We don't have many of them. And I have to go in to pay. So I'm standing in line, and this lady's having problems at the counter, and we're sitting there forever. And I turn around, and Joe Montana's standing there. He has a 2-liter of Coke and a gallon of ice cream and just looks irritated. And as a young kid, I'm like, "Hey, Joe." And he looks down at me and he says, "Kid, remember this. It doesn't matter what you do in life. When your wife wants Coke and ice cream in the middle of the night, you're going to get it." And never said another word.
Joe Montana for the win with some of the best marriage advice you'll ever get from anybody. Oh, that's awesome. And
it was amazing. I was starstruck. He was my favorite football player of all time. And just stand there, within 2 feet of him,
That's amazing. So about how old were you at the time?
Oh, I was, 16 or 17? It was 88. I graduated, in 90. So, I was 16, I'm guessing.
So right in that prime of idolizing professional football players. I don't think any of us did it more than when we were in high school, right?
No, and, in Napa, the 49ers and the Raiders, they would come and they would scrimmage at the local college there. And they would do some of their spring training. So I went down there and I saw Wendell Taylor and I saw Ronnie Lott and Fred Solomon and a couple of these guys. But I never met Joe Montana. That was the man, and it was just, when I met him, I mean, I didn't even have anything to say. It was just, "Hey, Joe."
That's so cool, man. And did you ever meet Jerry Rice? That's my guy. In fact, less than an arm length away from me is a framed Jerry Rice college jersey on my wall. You can't see it on the camera here, but did you ever meet my absolute hero?
Well, Jerry Rice has actually always made himself very available. And I've been to a lot of 49er games, and he would sit there and walk up and down the stands. Saw him a lot more after he retired. But he'll sit there and come and shake your hand. He talks to people. He walks into the crowd, takes pictures with people. Just a superhuman being.
Dude, and he looks like he could get out there and play right now. I mean, he's got to be in his, mid-60s? He looks like he could catch a couple touchdowns from Brock Purdy right now.
Well, I'm a little biased here, but I still think he looks like a professional athlete,
Yeah.
But being a human, I do realize that at our age, when we take hits, we don't get up nearly as fast.
Yeah, amen to that, man. Amen to that. Well, that is so cool. I actually have not my own Joe Montana story, but my brother-in-law's best friend lived in Napa as well after Joe Montana had retired, and he managed a local Starbucks there that Joe Montana went to multiple times a week. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, and so he got actually to be on a first name basis with Joe, and he would tell you, he goes, what sucks about it is you go into a Starbucks as Joe Montana, you're not getting out of there. You just aren't getting out of there. And a lot of times Joe's had to kind of force his way out. And among the people that saw him in that Starbucks that given day or any given day, they start to kind of give him a bad reputation around town because he kind of tries to just shut down and grab his coffee and put his head down and leave. Joe, the guy that managed the place, said, I know him. He's great. He talks to me all the time. He's a phenomenally nice guy, really friendly, really personable, but just didn't want to get caught up in the sea of that, right? Because once people figure out, like, if you don't know it's Joe Montana, but somebody says Joe Montana, your ass is going over there to get a picture, you know?
Well, my mom works at the hospital there in Santa Elena, and she actually worked on one of the nights when his wife delivered one of their babies. And Joe Montana, about 2 weeks later, sent an invitation to everybody at the hospital to go out to his property for a nice baby warming party. And she said they were just the nicest people in the world.
That's so
just
cool, man.
Super friendly.
So cool.
Yeah, I have a lot of good things to say about Joe Montana, and most of them aren't about his career, just who he was as a human and how he took care of our high school and just helped out in the community. He did, you didn't see him, but, he was always sponsoring things and helping out. So.
Yeah, you might not see him, but you feel that impact on the community for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And, Napa wasn't a big town, 30 years ago either. It's much bigger now, but.
Yeah. Well, I've never met Joe Montana, but I might have one up on you with the 49ers. I was working a radio event years ago. It was like the second or third year that I was in, so I really didn't know what I was doing. And this big dude, but a little bit older looking, maybe in his mid-50s, maybe mid-60s, but looked like he was, the guy was built like a brick shithouse. Just huge, square shoulders, 6 foot something, made me feel tiny. 6'4", I think, is this guy's. So what I figured out is through a little bit of talking, I had my 49ers hat on, and of course, he was kind of warming up to me a little bit. I was talking to Dan Buns, who was a 49er, drafted in 1978, first round, 24th pick overall, won a Super Bowl with the 49ers, actually won multiple Super Bowls with the 49ers. And here's the crazy part, Bob. He took off his Super Bowl ring and handed it to my young 20-something idiotic ass and said, put it on. And so I've actually worn a Super Bowl ring. Now, I will be honest with you, I put it around my wrist so it would fit, but pretty cool deal, man. And just God bless another 49er fan, Bob. You're my guy, all right? You're coming on this podcast whether you like it or not during football season, okay?
Oh, definitely. Especially if we're having a good season. I have plenty to say.
Okay, perfect, man, perfect. Well, we'll just go 3 hours talking about how good the season is if it goes that way. But, Bob, that's a great story, man. Thanks for bringing that up. Quincy, I know you're out there doing work, man, but I'm calling for you. Are you back with us yet?
Yep.
Hey, all right, he's back. He gets a round of applause, too. That's one for everybody today. Quincy, you've also got a great story that you brought, man, and actually you've got a couple, and I've been told to remind you about one, but let's go ahead and start with the one that's the most impactful for you.
So I'll leave out who it was because it just makes the story a little bit better. So I grew up a Husker fan and a Packers fan, then I transitioned into an Oregon fan, which is way better. So
way better.
Makes color coding go way easier these days. So I've always been a Packers fan. My dad's a Minnesota Vikings fan. And back when I was 12 or 13 years old, we got some tickets to go to a Packers preseason game up in club level. And so we made the road trip up to Green Bay. My mom and sister, they went out to Green Bay, did whatever. My dad and I went to the game. It was quite the sight to walk in the Lambeau Field for the first time ever. And I took an Aaron Rodgers rookie card with me because I was like, I got to get this signed. He was playing then. And so my whole plan was to get this card signed by Aaron Rodgers. And so we're up in club level. I'm just sitting there like, all right, they're going to be down at halftime. Like, we know we can go down there and possibly get a signal. It's not guaranteed, but we might be able to catch them because it's just preseason. We're sitting there right for halftime. I'm like, man, I gotta go pee really, really bad. So my dad takes me, we wandering around, end up on the next floor up, which I didn't know we weren't supposed to be up there. But we found a bathroom, and I go walking in there, and it's like, I don't know, way better than an old office kind of bathroom you'd think. It was decked out Packers, like toilets were gold, like it was.
Oh, wow.
Amazing.
So this isn't like your standard stadium trough that you're finding here.
No, and my dad's like, yeah, just go in there. I'll wait outside for you. All right, I go walking in there. I'm like, holy crap, look at this joint. And, start doing my business, and this guy walks in. He walks up to the urinal next to me. And he kind of looks over at me. I'm young and shy. I'm like, hey, don't be looking. Like, I kind of looked up at him, made that awkward eye contact, and he just kind of smirks, and I'm like, great. And I go and start washing my hands, and he comes and he starts washing his hands. He looks at me and he says, so where are you from? I said, Ponca, Nebraska. He said, oh, you made the drive up here? I said, yeah. He says, what's your name? I said, Quincy. He says, oh, are you a Packers fan? And I'm wearing a Brett Favre jersey.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, Packers fan through and through. And he's like, well, do you know who I am? And I'm kind of staring at him. I'm like, he says, well, is that your old man outside? I said, yeah. He says, well, his mouth was on the ground when I walked in here. He says, you'll have to ask him who I was. But he shook my hand. He says, nice to meet you. He's walking out, and I come walking out. And my dad's sitting there, his mouth's still on the ground, his eyes are huge. And I come walking up to him, I'm like, that guy just shook my hand in the bathroom. He's like, that was Bart Starr.
What?
I'm like,
Oh my God.
Oh, what?
and I'm like, who? He's like, Bart Starr. And I turned around and I went to say something, and the doors closed. And
Of course.
Get through them doors.
Yeah, of course they did. Bart Starr,
like,
man, that's NFL royalty.
God.
Hey, man.
I was just like a 12, 13-year-old. I just knew who Aaron Rodgers was and who Brett Favre was. That's all I cared about. I was pissed that Brett Favre was gone, and I was like, all right, let's give Aaron Rodgers a shot, And it's like, so then I got all the stories, and
That's so cool.
I've got to
man.
meet him, but yeah, I had no clue who he was.
So,
yeah.
You also told me to remind you of another Green Bay Packer that you've actually got to spend a little bit more time with, and you said you've got some really cool stories about this guy as well.
Yep. So Aaron Campman, he played for the Packers. I can't even remember the years. When we grew up rodeoing, we met some really good people through rodeo. This gentleman named Rob, he lives out in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. He has a well pump service and concrete business and everything. And I'd go out and I'd help him through the summer. Just get off the farm, go out there and work for him just to help him out. He found out I was a Packers fan, and he says, hey, I got a surprise for you to come out this summer to help. I said, oh, okay. And he says, I got someone I want you to meet. He says, you're a Packers fan, right? And I said, yeah. He says, all right, well, we're going to go have pizza with a gentleman that's associated with the Packers. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we get in the work back up for lunchtime, drive down in the stinky little town. And as we're coming in, there's this just big, I don't even know, nice house off in the bluff. I'm like, that's a nice house. We drive in, we just sit there, and this guy comes walking, big burly guy. He sits down, he reaches over, shakes Rob's hand. He said, hey, Rob, how's it going? And Rob said, hey, this is Quincy. This is Aaron Campman. I looked at my mouth at the freaking table. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And Rob's like, all right, before anything else, he pulls out of his pocket a Aaron Campman rookie card, slides over, says, Aaron, would you sign that for him? And I'm like, holy shit, this is happening right now.
Wow.
And this is like 2 years after the Bart Starr. So I'm like 15, 16. And I'm sitting there, I'm like,
Wow.
oh shit, I've met two Packers, in the past 2 years here. Like,
Things
what
are
is going on
good.
here?
Things are going good.
Well, coming back to it all, Rob helped put in the well system, the septic system, and it's like when Aaron Campman moved and he doesn't play football anymore, he built the house out by Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and Rob did most of the work for him.
Okay.
So we were talking about that, and so I started asking. I was a little more prepared this time once I calmed down a little bit. I said, so first question a 16-year-old asks is, so what's it like? And he just sits there and he just smiles and he's like, well, when you turn 21, I can tell you more, but until then, I'll keep the PG. And I'm like, oh, okay. So he's like, well, put it this way, there's a lot of strength, a lot of conditioning. And because I can't remember, you might be able to look it up, Marcus, but I want to say he was, I don't know if he was a lineman or a defensive tackle or what he was.
Defensive end.
But he's defensive end. All right. So I was asking about training, and he's like, oh, yeah, we lift, we do all this. And he says, the pills. And I'm like, I'm 16 thinking like, oh, you guys are popping pills?
Right.
That's legal? Don't you have to take a drug test? And he's like, no, all these vitamins. He said that within a week, they will take between 75 and 100 pills a week.
Just in supplements. That's crazy, man.
Supplements.
I gotta imagine the pee stream is just fluorescent yellow, man. I know that's kind of a weird thought, but like when I take a lot of vitamins, that's what happens to me. 75 or 100 in a week. Good Lord. I mean, I can't even imagine what that would be like to process.
Oh, absolutely.
And they all taste like garbage, too, and they're always like horse pill sized. So, I imagine.
That's what he said. I asked him, I said, so what's the biggest pill you took? And he just held up his thumb. I'm like, how? He says, oh, you just crush it up into like a powder. I'm sitting here like thinking of Miami Vice and they're snorting it off the table. He's like, no, just mix it with like a protein shake. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. So, like that's how you do it. No, thank you. That's awesome, man. So a diehard Packer fan meets Green Bay Packers. A diehard 49er fan meets 49ers. That's awesome, dude. So cool. And do you still get any contact with Mr. Capman, Quincy, or is that kind of gone by the wayside as time's gone on?
If I want to talk to him, I could probably talk to him later this afternoon. If I get a hold of Rob, he can get a hold of him.
All right, well, get a hold of Rob and tell him we've been looking for a defensive end to have on the podcast. So,
Rob's probably like, no.
Yeah, I know. I totally get it, Aaron. We understand. It's not surprising, but hey, so I actually have a couple because you guys. One thing that you all kind of came together and said here is that the people that you had the pleasure to meet were very gracious with their time. They were very friendly and they were very personable. We can agree to that across all these stories, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That's so cool, man, because I'm fortunate enough to have pretty good experiences across the board with celebrities. And of course, being in radio for almost a decade, you're going to meet them whether you like it or not. I've got a couple here that might surprise you guys a little bit. First and foremost, the most dainty and weak handshake I've ever been given by any human that I've ever had the pleasure of shaking their hand was also one of the nicest dudes I've ever met, and it was one Weird Al Yankovic. We were at a state fair introducing bands for the state fair, and I remember looking at my co-host at the time and be like, man, it'd be really cool if like Weird Al just walked by, because you know how fairs are. They get all these bands that are like 10 or 15 years past their prime, and then there's one big guy on Saturday night, and that's what they did at the Lane County Fair, and the big guy Saturday night was Weird Al. And this stage manager hears us talking about Weird Al, and he walks up and he taps me on the shoulder. He goes, hey, you want to meet Al? And I was like, are you speaking of Mr. Weird Al Yankovic? Because I don't know this Al. And he's like, yeah, Weird Al. Do you want to meet Weird Al? And I was like, yeah, 100% yes, we do. I think actually my response was, does a bear shit in the woods? Yeah, let's take us to
what
it.
Marcus does.
So they take us over, and I'm not kidding you guys, on this rickety wooden chair that looked like it was 150 years old, backstage, here sits Weird Al tuning his accordion.
Oh, my God.
Just tune it, and he walks up and he goes, Al, these two gentlemen are here to introduce you tonight. This is Marcus and Drew. And he stood up, and first of all, I will say, the tiniest hands, the weakest handshake. I don't hold it against him at all. I didn't even want to touch his hand, because what if I dislocate a finger and he can't play the accordion? I've ruined everything. So that's kind of where my mind goes here. But he sat there and talked to us for probably 10 or 15 minutes, and then we had to go up and introduce the next band. I'm guessing that if we didn't have to leave, we would still be talking to Weird Al right now some 15 years later. He was that cool and that personable. And it just always makes you feel good. You know, you met somebody that like, hey, this guy could be a total asshole because I'm nobody. But he was really cool. I got a couple more here for you. You guys like Jackass, the TV show Jackass? Yeah. Jason Acuna, also known as Wee Man. Going to be one of the coolest guys.
Wow.
If you ever get a chance to meet him, came into the radio studio, kicked himself in the head for us live on the air, was willing to do anything that we wanted with our stunt guy. We had a stunt guy on staff that we would light him on fire. We pushed him downstairs. We did all sorts of crazy stuff to this poor human. But Wee Man was all about it. He's like, oh, you've got a guy on here like that? Let's do some stuff. Very cool dude. And then this one hurts a little bit because he was my absolute favorite and he's since passed away. He was notorious and world famous owner of the Bunny Ranch in
No, I was just guessing. Sorry.
Oh no, it's okay. It's somewhere out there in by Reno. The Bunny Ranch, the world famous
Nevada.
There you go. Have you been there?
No comment.
Does a Marcus shit in the woods?
No, I got it.
I plead the fifth on that one.
I got it, man.
My wife's gonna listen to this.
Okay, all right. Well, what's funny about that is I always set it up that way. I've been setting it up that way for years because somebody always knows exactly where it's at, and that's always my first question. Oh, you've been? And of course, there's always like a big backpedal, but Dennis Hoff got hooked up with a...
Nothing I know of.
Yeah. Dennis Hoff came onto the radio show for an appearance one time. It was a one-time thing, and it turned out that there was a girl that had gone from basically this area where I live and had moved down to Nevada and was working at the Bunny Ranch at the time. And when he figured out where this radio station was that he was talking to, he said, oh, I got a girl from your guys' neck of the woods down here. And he calls her over. Her name was Bunny Love. He says, Bunny, come on over. Well, it turns out that this gal was like a pretty big fan of our radio show, and Dennis fell in love with our radio show. So he would come on like once a month, and he would do the craziest bits with us. We used to have one we loved. It was called How Much Money is in Dennis Hoff's Pocket? And he would call the show, and we would have listeners call in and guess, and then he would count the money live. And I mean, there was one time he had like 15 grand in his pocket. It was crazy.
Oh my God.
But we had the coolest thing that Dennis Hoff ever did. We had an intern at the radio station who was 6'7" and about 430 pounds, I believe, maybe 420 pounds. Just, first of all, one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, one of the kindest people, but a gigantic human being. Even if he didn't weigh 400 plus pounds, he's still 6'7". He's massive. But the dude had never had a girlfriend. He'd never been on a date. He'd never kissed a girl before. And Dennis Hoff found out about this through listening to the radio show on his own time. And he called us up and he says, the guy's name was James. He said, you take intern James and you get him down to the Eugene airport at X o'clock, and I will have the private Bunny Ranch plane come and pick him up. It will be full of girls. He can come down here and stay for 2 nights on my tab. Everything's free. He can have as many girls as he wants, and we're going to change his life. Not kidding you guys. It happened. That guy went down to the Bunny Ranch. They took care of him, gave him the whole treatment, stayed in Dennis Hoff's suite for 2 nights with girls dancing all over him, and came back with a personalized knitted robe that fit him. The coolest dude ever. Had a heart attack and passed away, but may God rest his soul. Dennis Hoff, one of the coolest dudes I've ever met that had the type of celebrity that he did. And I just miss him more than certain dead relatives. I got to be honest with you guys. The Bunny Ranch, I never went. We all had girlfriends. I know that question's probably surfacing in your guys' head. One of us was married. The other one's very seriously thinking about getting married. The offer was extended to us, but I have to say, gentlemen, I was not able to accept it, unfortunately. Like one of you. Or wait, I mean the one that didn't have any comment. Sorry. I forgot. We were glossing over that fact, but that's about it.
I may have parked in the parking lot once.
Okay, that works. Well, hey.
Yeah, I think I parked in the parking lot once.
Do you guys know who...
I'm thinking of 34.
Yeah, great soda.
Yeah, right.
The window washers in that parking lot are the best in the world. I'll tell you that much right now. It's worth every penny, man.
Shirley Temples were great. So is the cherry.
Oh, man.
I'm thinking about the guy that got the Hugh Hefner treatment for his first time. that had to ruin him for life.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
sure.
come on.
I'm sure, man. There's nothing worse. Yeah. Well, and it's just every woman for the rest of his life is like, well, yeah, but let me tell you about my first time when a private jet picked me up and took me to where I was going. You can't compete with that. You can't compete with that at all, man. But one more before we get out of here.
Unrealistic expectations for sure.
Absolutely. And since we're already kind of down this road a little bit, I had this one written down. I wasn't sure if I was going to bring it up. Do you guys know who Ron Jeremy is?
No.
Somebody does. I can tell by that giggle that somebody does. Ron Jeremy.
My wife warned me about doing this show.
Yes, he was a famous male porn star, and I say was because Ron Jeremy has since had a terrible fall from grace where he was, abusing women and just doing terrible stuff. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he's in prison now. But
oh wow, did not know that.
We used to have at the radio show, we would have we had a sales thing with a strip club in town where we would go down there and broadcast live for a couple hours once a month. And the way that they would promote it was they would have some girls come into the studio, we'd talk to them, we'd do some crazy stuff with them, whatever, to try to pump up the fact that we were going to be out at the club that night. And what's funny about that is our studio had windows in it on two different sides. And every time the girls from the strip club were in there, there was just a bunch of dudes' faces pressed up against these windows. And it was all the sales guys and all the guys from the other radio stations because they would come down dressed for work. They wouldn't come down in blue jeans and boots, right? They would come down dressed. And these guys, their faces are all pressed against the window. And we finally had blinds installed and hung newspaper on the windows so they couldn't do that anymore. Now, here's the funny part. Ron Jeremy comes in with Dennis Hoff on one of his in-studio appearances. We had no idea that Dennis Hoff was bringing one of the most famous male porn stars of all time into the room. First of all, he's dressed like a bum. His shirt is all stretched out. It's ripped at the collar. It's got stains all over it. He's wearing sweatpants and flip-flops. And we're not really that impressed with this guy at first. He's kind of, he's talking over us. He swore a couple times on the air, which is a huge no-no in radio. And we just weren't really that impressed. And all of a sudden we feel the presence. The women of the office had gone and opened the blinds when we were at break and torn down the newspaper. And they had their faces pressed up against the glass just to get their eyes on Ron Jeremy. And I'm not kidding you guys. When he noticed it, he looks up and he says, "We got a lot of ladies around here." And he said, "Yeah, they're just here to see you." He pulled a harmonica out of his fucking pocket and played like a 3-minute harmonica solo. I didn't even know if I was in real life anymore at the end of this day. Wild experience. Could give or take Ron Jeremy, okay? Not that impressive, but I figured when I brought up his name and I heard that giggle in the background, I'm not sure which one of you that was, but I knew there was some familiarity there.
McEwen, yeah, Vivid Video. Vivid Video, Simi Valley, set construction for a couple of years. I was a carpenter in another life. What can I say?
Okay, all right, good for you, man. Oh, dude.
So yeah, that's all I'm saying.
So you had his business card is what you're saying.
Yeah, I might have known some of them folks here and there.
Okay, all right. Well, I won't ask you on this podcast. We'll have you come back under a pseudonym, and I'll ask you those questions another time.
That would, yeah. You'll have to read my memoir.
Okay. All right. I'm up for it, man, because that'll be good. Well, gentlemen, listen, as always, when we get into a conversation like this that's so much fun, I look down. We've been on the phone for over 45 minutes here. I know you guys all have work to do. I want to get you out of here and let you go. Thank you all so much for being here today. And guys, Bob and Mike, I know you're new. This is your first time on the show, so I'm going to let Quincy lead this one. Every single time we bring you drivers on here, we always want to make some time for some final thoughts. You can say anything you want, whether you got shout-outs for friends and family, you want to talk to some of your other drivers, or you just want to say, hey, good having you, thanks for being here. It's totally up to you. So Quincy Rich, the man that brought us this awesome idea, thank you so much for the idea. Final thoughts from you today, my friend, before we let you go.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for letting it come on the air, and thanks to everybody at Bardo and Liquid Trucking for the podcast, and let's go Ducks.
Let's go Ducks. You know that one was coming out of him. Bob, how about you, man? First time on the show. Thank you so much for being here and bringing your awesome stories. Anything you'd like to say to the audience listening before we let you go today?
Well, just after hearing that Ducks, all I can think is fight on Trojans, but
boo. I mean, boo. I didn't expect a USC Trojan in here today. Okay, I can live with it. I know you're a California guy. I understand. We can't all be perfect.
We have
had some good matchups with the Ducks over the years, I'll have to admit.
Yep, we have. In fact, also on my wall, I've got a panorama of Autzen Stadium from the 2008 Halloween night game where USC came to play the Ducks. I was at that game. Phenomenal game. One of my best memories. So I'll boo a Trojan in public. Don't get me wrong, but I really appreciate you being here, Bob.
Well, I'll tell you, I watched that game with Matt Leinart and it was touchdown after touchdown in overtime, and it was an amazing. It was a blast. There's been some just phenomenal matchups between the Trojans and the Oregon Ducks over the years. I kind of missed the back then.
Yep. Yeah. Well, Bob, thanks again for being on here, man. I hope you'll come back and join us again. You did fantastic today. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate it. Have a good day.
Absolutely. And finally, Mike, thanks for being here, dude. You also did fantastic on your first time here. Anything that you would like to leave us with before we let you go today?
Well, yeah, I mean, since we're talking about Packers and 49ers, it's been really hard. I've been a Raiders fan since the 1970s.
Oof.
Okay.
Man.
So anyway, I certainly feel left out.
That is a long drought.
Oh
my goodness.
It is.
But anyhow, no, but I really did like being on the show. It's great. I'll do it again for sure.
Awesome.
And I want to give a shout out to Rick Jackson, because he was my trainer, and he's been invaluable on the phone. Whenever I have a question, he's been so helpful. The level of comfort I have knowing that I can call somebody if I run into a problem has been hugely helpful. I mean, I can't stress it enough.
That's awesome, man. Well, hey, hats off to Rick Jackson and all the rest of the phenomenal driver trainers we've got out there at Liquid. Next time you talk to him, put a bug in his ear. See if he'll come on the podcast. We haven't talked to Rick before, but I hear a lot of good things, so we'd love to have him if he wants to come on.
Okay, yeah, I'll mention it to him. Sure.
Awesome. Mike, thank you so much. Bob, thank you. And, of course, Quincy, thank you. You guys did phenomenal today. We're definitely getting you back on this podcast soon. We're almost out of time here, so we'll come back and wrap it up. Stay tuned. It's the Liquid Trucking Podcast. All right, Liquid Trucking, welcome back in here. We do not have very much time, honestly. I told those poor guys, Bob, Quincy, and Mike, hey, like maybe 30 minutes and we'll be out of here. No, that interview, point to point, it was a 50-minute interview, and we've had a habit of doing that lately here on the Liquid Trucking Podcast. I will not complain about it. I could talk to those guys about that type of stuff for hours on end, okay? So if you enjoy it, you're sitting here listening, the goal of this is to make this a conversation that feels like we're all kind of taking part, okay? I will read your responses. If you've got them, send them to me, podcast@liquidtrucking.com. Always love to hear the feedback. If you've got my number, of course, text me. There's plenty of you Liquid drivers out there that text me already. I'm always happy to hear from you guys and always happy to take suggestions about how we can make the podcast better and better for you. We want on this podcast things that you want to hear. So greatly appreciate Quincy, Bob, and Mike again. And Quincy will be going home with those Drive for Gold points for suggesting the episode today. Don't forget to go check out version 2.0 of our awesome podcast landing page, podcast.liquidtrucking.com. It's simple. It's easy. Go check it out. Lots of interactive stuff up there. And also, as I said before in the open, if you have a celebrity moment, just because this episode is over does not mean that we can't still touch on these. Send them to me. Email me, text me, send them to your dispatcher, whatever. Get them in my hands, and we'll get them up on the website, and we might even spend a little bit of time talking about them here on the show. Thanks to everybody that's participated today. Thank you to all of you guys that click download every single Wednesday. It's because of you that this show goes, and just how lucky am I to be working with a company like Liquid Trucking, man. Always got new drivers for me to talk to, always got fun stuff to talk about. I'm so damn happy. I'm going to go have myself a tall, cool one. That's it for me today. Episode 82 is in the books. We will see you next week for episode 83 of the Liquid Trucking Podcast. I've been your host, Marcus. Stay safe out there, Liquid Trucking, and keep the shiny side up.
Thanks for tuning in and being the gold standard of drivers on the road. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and tune in next week for another episode of the Liquid Trucking Podcast.
Interested in finding out more about what it takes to bring a podcast like the Liquid Trucking Podcast to your fleet? Bulldog provides tailor-made, top-to-bottom podcast production services. We'll meet your terminal staff, connect with your drivers, and bring you the content you want your drivers to hear. Type bulldog.works into your browser to connect with us and learn more about what we can do for your fleet. That's bulldog.works for podcasts, tenacious recruiting, and more.